Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here, and welcome back to a brand new Go Battle League video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a really strong team in the Colour Cup, and I have to say I really enjoyed this cup today. It was a ton of fun. It's really nice to get a break from the Great League meta, and this team right here is a very strong meta team for the Colour Cup. Ampharos is just such a core breaker, because it gets off the brutal swings against Trevenant, and of course it is an electric typing which deals with all of the Toxapex you're going to see. It deals with Abomasnows in certain scenarios with the brutal swings, and overall it's just a really strong Pokemon here. So hopping into this first match right here, Shift Tree can be a really big problem for this team, as you're going to see a little bit later on in the video. Actually, maybe towards the end you'll see a Shift Tree matchup, and we do take it out with Toxapex. That is of course the perfect alignment right there. Now the reason we're throwing off this Brine against the Toxapex is because my timer was almost up, and I wanted to get swapped into Ampharos to get off this Thunder Punch just before the opponent's timer comes through. We get off the Thunder Punch, they do shield it, and in comes Abomasnow. And you're going to see right here, this is where Ampharos is so powerful. Even though this is not a great matchup, Brutal Swing does an absolute ton of damage against this thing, and the opponent will be forced to, okay, they actually just about get the farm down, but you're going to see in a lot of scenarios, it will be forced to throw. And the opponent does throw against the Toxapex. We decide to go for the farm down and shield. The opponent's going to throw off a Brine against us here, and at this point I'm happy enough for the opponent's Toxapex to expend some energy. We've got a Trevenant in the back, which can more than deal with this, even though it's got a shield advantage. I'm happy enough to get off that damage right there, and honestly I didn't even need to shield that. I could have just let it go and just go in with the Trevenant. Either way would have been fine. I think the most optimal way is probably saving the shield for the Trevenant right there. Now I want to give you guys some tips with this Pokemon because it is a bit of a funny one. So it has Brutal Swing and Thunder Punch. In neutral scenarios, each of these do the exact same amount of damage. The non-stab Brutal Swing does the same damage as the Thunder Punch. So if you guys are wondering, like, why am I not throwing the Thunder Punch right here, it does the exact same amount of damage. And if the opponent resists your moves, Shift Tree for example, Thunder Punch and Brutal Swing again do the same amount of damage. So just keep that in mind. In neutral scenarios or resisted scenarios, both of these moves do the exact same damage. So we take out this Jump Off, we aggro swap into the Trevenant right here, and we're going to see what comes in here. It is a Ferrothorn. Now Ferrothorn is a slight problem for this team, so it is a little bit of a combined effort. We can get off a lot of damage with that, and we're going to go for basically a Seed Bomb. Yeah, I did decide to shield this up because I thought they might potentially be at the Flash Cannon, which is the recommended move for this cup. But we'll get off the Seed Bomb, which should just about take it out, and the opponent actually shields it up as well, so I decide, okay, they might be a little bit glassy to Trevenant in the back, so I'm just going to come in with my Toxapex right here, and it is a Toxapex of their own, so this should be fine right here. We've got 3 Pokemon, and yeah, this is going to be pretty easy to deal with. We'll get off as much damage as we possibly can here, and of course Ampharos can probably come in and farm down. Ampharos just has so much play in this meta. I was looking for a long time actually. I was looking at every single Pokemon, because I realized in this cup you're going to see an absolute ton of Toxapex and Trevenant. They're the top 2 Pokemon, which is of course why I decided to run them in the back. They just have so much play against almost everything. Now I want to talk a little bit about timing here. My timing was not perfect with this. If you're against a free turn move, like the Bullet Seed that the opponent's got here, you need to throw on 2 Volt Switches or 5. My timing was a little bit off here, as you're going to see in a few occasions. Right here, it doesn't matter, I decided to go for the BM Brutal Swing right here because it will take out no matter what. But you know, that is absolutely fine. GG's to the opponent. But yeah, just keep that in mind guys. If you're up against, let's say, a Ferrothorn, you want to throw on 2 Volt Switches or 5. You're going to see a little bit of bad timing by me, but I thought I'd mention that to you just so that you can try to optimize your timing to do a little bit better in those worst matchups. If you're against the Talonflame, you want to throw after 1 and 6. Well, with Talonflame, it's not as much of an issue. Let's say, for example, it's a 5-turn move, so 2 of their Incinerates would be 10. So if you throw after 2, you're giving away a turn of free energy, which is not the end of the world. And with things like Talonflame, you do have to sort of get your moves off against it. So the opponent lets that go. A big Shadow Ball into the Emolga. The opponent's going to throw a move here, and I'm happy enough for this at this point. We can come in and farm down with the Ampharos, and we'll see what the opponent wants to come in with here. They come in with the Ferrothorn, and right here we're just going to throw off this Brutal Swing. So I do throw after 2 right there. But one thing that you do need to keep in mind is that timing is not everything. You know, sometimes you just need to get your moves off, and you're going to see me do that a couple of times in this video. But just whenever it is possible, try to throw in good timing. I throw after 1 here because I don't want the opponent to get off another move, and the opponent ends up shielding it, so I'm like, okay, it's time to bring in Toxapex. We're going to keep this Ampharos safe in the back, and they're going to go for the Power Whip, which doesn't do too much damage. In comes a Lantern, which is interesting. 2 Sludge Bombs more or less take this thing out. We can live we can live a Thunderbolt at this range. Look at that. Toxapex is so bulky. Let's say for example if the opponent already has a Thunderbolt loaded, you can probably live like 2 Thunderbolts, like the Thunderbolt plus the Sparks and another one. Toxapex is so bulky, and these lanterns are just getting absolutely destroyed. Just things you absolutely love to see. We've got a shield advantage right here, and again these moves are neutral, so I can throw off a Brutal Swing or a Thunder Punch, doesn't make a difference. A Thunder Punch is not the best move, so Brutal Swing ends up doing the exact same amount of damage. And in comes the Fairthorn, and we do farm it down. GG's to the opponent right there. So like I said with the move timing, it does make a difference and it can help you in matchups, but the most important thing is to get your moves off. So don't think about it too much, but optimizing it will give you a little bit of an advantage in certain matchups. So coming in here, Ampharos into Lantern. You just absolutely love to see Lanterns coming into this meta because there's so many things that absolutely destroy it. We farm up to the Brutal Swing, and we'll swap into our Toxapex. Tixapex, I almost said. They throw off a Weather Ball. I don't know why they're trying to bait me right here. So I'm just going to farm up a ton of energy, throw off this Brine, which will take it out at this range. Abomasnow is a great Pokemon, but it is very glassy, especially in the Shadow form. And back in comes the Lantern. We're going to get off a big Sludge Wave. It's actually a Sludge Wave, not a Sludge Bomb, which will do a lot of damage. The opponent can throw a Surf here. It's not going to take us out, folks. Toxapex is just an absolute tank. This thing just eats Surfs for breakfast here. The opponent actually shields it up, which is quite surprising. We're just going to come in with Trevenant, and there's not a whole lot the opponent can do here. They swap out to Talonflame, and I unnecessarily throw off this the Shadow Ball right here. I could have just banked the energy and swapped in, but the opponent does let that go. We can Volt Switch it down. And yeah, I can just shield this up at this point. The opponent invested a shield, and Ampharos is kind of glassy. I'm just going to throw this move straight away. I'll put the pressure on this, and yeah, there's only one way this match is really going to go. The opponent does CMP test right here. I think I can live a Surf from this range, but it is the Thunderbolt. For some reason, you probably should be just throwing Surfs here. But GG's, we're going to throw off this Brutal Swing. I'm doing an okay amount of damage, and can we even get to another one? We just about do. Ampharos is an absolute tank. Definitely, as soon as I seen it on PvPoke, I was looking for a long time. What Pokemon can deal with both Toxapex and Trevenant, and this Pokemon turns out to be one of the best solutions for sure. So we ended up going really positive with this team. I went 4-1, 4-1, 5-0, 3-2, and at the very end I ended up going 2 for 3. So overall extremely positive. We throw off this Brutal Swing against the Swampert. Swampert's a bit of an awkward one. Of course Trevenant is the best matchup for it, but that's kind of what Ampharos is here for, just to kind of stay in against these sort of evenish matchups. And we actually win CMP on the Swampert, so the Brutal Swing would do a lot of damage. I think at this point I decided to let it go, because Trevenant absolutely hard walls this, and these are the 2 strongest Pokemon in the meta. We've got a shield advantage. We'll CMP tie on the Seed Bomb, which will take out the Swampert, and it should, like I said, absolutely one-shot this thing. In comes a Charizard, so I swap straight out to my Toxapex. The opponent's staying in here for a minute, and they do farm up a little bit of energy. So back into this Lantern matchup right here. We're going to make an interesting play, and I think it's the correct play, but I do slightly misplay it right here. So the opponent's going to throw off a Thunderbolt, and as we've seen, we can live this. The opponent has a Blast Burn loaded on the Charizard, so what I decide to do is let the opponent farm me down and come in with the Trevenant. However, I leave it a little bit sort of unobtainable. I leave it in a pretty high health range, and the opponent is actually going to be able to get off another Surf here. I decide I need to try and live the Surf and get off the move on the Charizard, and unfortunately, I don't have good IVs on this thing. I think if I had good IVs, that would have worked out. But that was basically my win condition right there, to let the opponent farm me down, get a farm of Trevenant, and go for the Shadow Ball on the Charizard, of course after it throws its own move. Because if I went in there, the opponent could go for the bait, and I decided that was the best play, which I think it was, but unfortunately I just didn't farm it down enough for me to get a comfortable farm down with the Trevenant, so that's an idea that you guys should keep in the back of your mind. If you know that the opponent has a move loaded, and you've got 1 shield, and that you can potentially live a move on your Pokemon that's facing their second to last Pokemon, leave it in a range where you can farm it down, stop attacking, and you know, in that scenario I just didn't do it well enough. So good games to the opponent right there, and this is an interesting match right here. These Frenzy Plants do an absolute ton, so we're going to try and get off the Seed Bomb, but we just about can't. We do have the shield advantage, and we can come in with Toxapex right here. They basically go for the full farm down. The opponent is going to throw off another Frenzy here, which does a decent amount of damage. These Frenzy Plants are such a strong move. They're going to get my Toxapex down to about 50% health right here. Back in comes the Lantern, and we're going to be able to get off a Sludge Wave right here. So this is going to be a tricky one. We'll see what we can actually do with this. The good thing is we have the shield advantage, and we aggro swap in here, knowing that the brutal swing will do a decent amount of damage to this Abomasnow. What I could end up doing here is shielding up this and trying to come out with some energy. We'll see what I decide to do here. The opponent goes for the Weller Ball Bait, and we're going to basically just let this Ampharos go at this point. Go for the farm down with Toxapex, and hopefully the Sludge Wave will be able to take it out. Can we get the full farm down? We do. And we're going to farm up to the Sludge Wave. The opponent is going to need 2 moves to take us out here. This is most likely a Surf, but let's see if we can get to the Sludge Wave just in time. We do. And let's see if this does take out the Lantern. This is going to be close. Yeah, so the opponent, it just about doesn't take out, and the opponent doesn't get off their move. So that was a very close matchup right there. GG's to the opponent, and we take another win right there. Honestly, I was not really sure how the Color Cup would be, but from my experience so far, the meta is extremely fun, and you're seeing a lot of variety. We get a very good lead right here, and the opponent should be swapping out here. They swap into a Ferrothorn, and again, this is a slightly team effort. Trevenant is probably our best answer to this thing, but I do like to chip it and dip it to leave his opponent in Shadow Ball range. So the opponent's going to throw a move here. This could be a Flash Cannon or anything. It is a Power Whip. We don't really like eating moves in Trevenant in general. Do we let the second one go? We do. Maybe the opponent actually doesn't have it, but we're going to go for the Shadow Ball here. We're going to throw after 1. If you're throwing a 2-turn move into a 3-turn move, you throw after 1 move, 4 move, or 7, and we've got a little bit of energy for the Abomasnow. Again, this is a sort of a resisted move, but it does a lot of damage, so the opponent does decide to shield it up and go for the full farm down. We obviously come in with Toxapex right here, and we can basically eat any of its moves right here. The opponent is going to throw off probably the Energy Ball, and it gets us down to about half health. Now, at this point, the opponent comes back in with Jellicent. I swap straight out, and a Shadow Ball would do a lot of damage, so I do decide to shield it up right here. We're going to throw after 1 right here. Again, throwing after 2 is more optimal, but I decide I'm going to go for 2 Brutal Swings here. The opponent lets the first one go, and like I said, we're just trying to get off the moves. I was a little bit unsure of the energy right here, so I decided I just wanted to get these off. But if I had a free on better timing, I think the opponent might not have got to this move, so that just goes to show the importance of it. We probably will get away with it here. The opponent has a move, so this is getting relatively close. But that just goes to show you the importance. If we threw 2 Volt Switches in free, the opponent would have got less energy, and this match would have been a little bit less close. So that is something to keep an eye on, guys, and that's why I do preach about trying to throw with good timing, because in that matchup, it got very, very close towards the end, and that really could have made the difference in winning or losing that match. But GG's to the opponent nonetheless, and we were able to take that match, and let's hop into the next one here. So Marowak, this is a pretty good lead here. The Marowak can do a ton of damage, but so can Brutal Swing. So we're actually just going to farm up to 5 right here, and go for the Brutal Swing. The opponent, I think, is definitely at a move, and we're actually going to CMP tie them on the second move. So the opponent has a big decision to make right here. They decide to let it go, and at this point I think I'm kind of happy to shield this. Yep, so we'll shield this up. It is a Bone Club, which would do a decent amount of damage, and I come in for the aggro swap and farm down with the Trevenant. The opponent comes in with a Wolverine. Guys, I'm sorry, but I'm doing these battles here at like 7:30, and I actually didn't get to sleep until like 2 AM last night. The kids were up. I ended up throwing a Shadow Ball into the Wolverine. I like to do these battles nice and early. And yeah, my son Alex was up last night. Yeah, I ended up just clicking the wrong one. So a bit of a mistake by me right there. But can we get off the Seed Bomb? We can. So it ends up working out fine. Just pro tips, guys. You know, all the pros do this. You know, don't throw your Shadow Balls into the Wolverine. Throw your Seed Bomb. It would take 2 moves no matter what. And yeah, that's just a pretty obvious one. The opponent actually just top lefts right there because they know that we're in a very dominant position right here, and GG's to the opponent. So even though we threw the Shadow Ball into the Wolverine, we ended up winning that match. So I don't think too much explanation. So whoever's about to comment, why are you throwing your Shadow Balls into the Wolverine? You know, mistakes happen, folks. Mistakes happen. You tap wrong buttons sometimes, and that's just how it goes. In comes a blue Jellicent, and we're going to hard swap into this. The opponent already sees the writing on the wall and top lefts. Ampharos just wins a lot of leads, and if it doesn't win the lead, like Abomasnow is a pretty bad lead, you can still have a lot of neutral play against it. I think about your worst possible lead would be a Swampert, which, as you guys seen earlier, you can still do a lot of work against it. Now, Kingdra's a bit of an interesting one right here. So these Volt Switches will end up being neutral, and it just absolutely chunks the life out of us. We're going to throw off a Brutal Swing, which will put a little bit of pressure on this Kingdra. If I can come out of here with a shield advantage, I'll be happy enough. I do decide to shield here and go for the extra volt switch. I'm hoping to maybe get to 2 moves. We throw off the brutal swing straight away. Can we get to the next move? No, we can't. So I probably should not have shielded that right there, but at least we can get a little bit of farm on Trevenant. We've got this in a 1v1 shield scenario, and in comes Victory Bell. So right here we're going to farm up to the Shadow Ball, go for the Seed Bomb. There's no need to really go for Shadow Balls against Victory Bell, it's so glassy. And we're just going to hard swap in here, thinking that the opponent's best answer to Trevenant is Victory Bell, so it might be strong to something, which it is in the back. And we see yet another Lantern. Guys, just let the Lanterns go. Like, I'm actually kind of sad that we're seeing so many Lanterns in this cup. I'm actually sad but happy at the same time. I'm happy because, like, you know, I could just hard wall it with this team, but I'm quite sad in the fact that, like, this is a whole new cup and you guys are still using Lantern. Like, just don't do it. Use something different. But yeah, we've got a shield right here, and we're even farming up a little bit extra. The opponent's Victory Bell is close to a move, and we don't want the Lantern to get off any moves against us here. They're running Charge Beam as well, which is not recommended. And the Acid Spray is going to make this really close, but we do get the Seed Bomb off, and that's going to be a good game to the opponent right there. Yeah, definitely for me, like, the whole reason I'm playing this cup is to get away from the Lanterns, and thankfully Lantern is not too OP in this cup. So it was that a 5-0 set right there. Definitely some pretty good plays by me, and a couple of misplays here and there as well. But, you know, even with a few misplays, this team is just so strong and so solid. I did end up getting my elo this video. I ended up getting 2100, like 2096 or something, and I think I ended up on like 2077 because I went 2-5 at the end of the day. Overall, I'm happy enough with that. I wasn't expecting my elo to be very high because I've been running a lot of spicy teams in the run up to obviously the elo reveal type of thing. And the opponent comes in here with a Razor Leaf Venusaur, which I would not recommend. It gets these moves so much slower, and this is just an absolute waste. Just for the sake of going for fast move pressure, like, no, just honestly, Frenzy Plant is such an amazing move, and you want to get to those Frenzy Plants. Like, this matchup should be a lot more comfortable for Venusaur, and with this Razor Leaf, it's just completely destroying this Pokemon, so definitely do not do that. We get off a Brine, which does an okay amount of damage to allow us to farm down. The opponent comes back in with Talonflame, and we do throw on slightly less optimal timing of 6, but I do want to get off the move. You should be throwing on 7 2-turn moves against the Talonflame. Now this could be basically anything at this point, and I do decide to shield here. Now actually I'm just hitting the Thunder Punch because I wasn't sure if the opponent would be able to get off, you know, another move against us there. So a little bit of a misplay by me. I do end up throwing the Thunder Punch into the Swampert, but the Seed Bomb is just going to absolutely take it out. And the opponent's got a Water Gun Swampert. I'm not sure what this opponent's up to here today. This is definitely not the play. I decide I'm not going to eat any moves on Trevenant, even if it is just a Hydro Cannon, because, you know, obviously why would I, but Swamperts just do so much damage. Like 2 Hydros from a Shadow Swampert will take out a Trevenant, and my Trevenant's got terrible IVs, so in comes another Talonflame. The opponent decides to stay in here, and I believe I threw after free right there, so I let the opponent get 2 turns of free energy free, so not optimal, but again with Talonflame, I just like getting these moves off and putting on the pressure, because if you let this thing just go too far, it just gets rammed up, and it is quite annoying. So in this case, I'm happy to throw after 2 and 3, which lets the opponent get a couple of turns of energy and stuff like that, but it just put a lot of pressure on the shields, and puts a lot of pressure on taking out the opponent. Like I said, it's a neutral move, so we can throw Thunder Punch or Brutal Swing, doesn't matter, and we'll swap into the Trevenant, which is going to absolutely eat this Lantern for breakfast. You love to see Lanterns, folks. The only time I'm happy to see a Lantern, we overfarm and go for the CMP tie right here, just to leave us a little bit of energy on the other side, and I'm expecting the Talonflame to come back in here, so I go straight for the Seed Bomb, but it turns out to be a Tropius, which I think is going to be a very strong pick in this meta. The opponent fully farms us down here, but we do get off another Seed Bomb. It would be nice to get off the Shadow Ball, but I was expecting just the Talonflame to come straight back in. Now, this is a very dominant matchup here for the Toxapex. The opponent can throw off a couple of moves, Leaf Blade. They do an okay amount of damage right here, and I'm trying to farm up a little bit extra, knowing that they're probably trying to catch. The opponent sees that it's not going to happen for them there, and they do decide to top left. Good game to the opponent. So again, that's another thing that you always have to watch out for. If you know the opponent has a low health Pokemon in the back, it might be worth considering not throwing straight away, especially if you're going to reach the move first. The opponent might try to go for the catch. Now, I believe this is a lead loss right here with Trevenant, but we can get off these Brutal Swings, which do an absolute ton of damage. Trevenant is a bit of a sort of team effort, and we can get off 2 Brutal Swings before they can get off 2 Shadow Balls. The opponent does sort of need to beat us here. I think I decide to take the shields off it, and at this point, Do I shield? Yeah, so I think I can just, yeah, let the opponent farm us down, and I can come in with either Pokemon right here, but I could go for like a Seed Bomb on the Trevenant. Yeah, so I decide to come in here. The opponent will throw a Seed Bomb, and at this point I could go for a Farm Down or a Seed Bomb, depending on whether you want energy or health here. I decide I want the energy, and farm the opponent fully down. So we've got a loaded Trevenant coming into this Tentacruel right here. Tentacruel's a Pokemon I'm definitely going to be running in the next day or two. I think it's definitely a fun pick. Of course, it's a neutral Seed Bomb. You're going to need two moves to take out this thing. A Shadow Ball and a Seed Bomb will take it out. And we just swap straight into the Toxapex right here. Now, the opponent resists all of these moves, and they're going to fire off a big Shadow Ball. But as you've seen, like, it's going to take, like, at least 2 Shadow Balls to take this out, plus some of the fast moves. We throw off another one of these, which will do an okay amount of damage. We do need to get another Sludge Bomb off, so hopefully we can live another move right here. This is going to be very, very tough. Can we live another Shadow Ball? We do. We just live it by the skin of our teeth, and we're going to get off this move. The opponent basically expended most of their energy, and we can farm down. We've basically, we're 1 health in a dream here. Well, not quite 1 health, but 1 more Hex would have taken us out, and that's the advantage of the 2-turn move over the free. We're able to get in 2 Shadow Claws before they're able to get in 2 Hexes, so that works out very nicely there. So very nice positive lead here. Ampharos just gets so many lead wins. Do you even English? But yeah, we're going to throw off this Thunder Punch. The opponent does decide to shield it, and I'm just going to throw off another one. We're going to put on some pressure here, see what the opponent really wants to do here, and if they double shielded that, I'm thinking they're probably weak in the back. Now, I do try to catch on my own Toxapex because they are staying in here, and I do decide to go for the farm down, which maybe was not the best play here. I decide to let this Brine go, thinking I can live it, and we swap it into our Toxapex, banking the energy in the Ampharos, and in comes the Charizard. Getting ahead on energy actually worked out perfectly there, because it allows us to get off this Brine, which would almost one-shot the Charizard. It actually might one-shot it because it is Shadow. We did decide to let this go, thinking the opponent might go for a bait, which they do, which is fantastic. And we can't even live a Blast Burn at this point. Again, Toxapex just eats all of the energy right here. And we go for this straight away, and this will take out the Charizard. So let's have a look. What does the opponent have in the back here? They do have an Araquanid. I do try to swap out as quickly as possible here, and we're going to go for a Seed Bomb. The opponent's going to throw off a Bug Buzz. I thought they might go for the Bubble Beam Bait Red here, but yeah, the opponent top left, and we get a little bit of lag here. It takes a while for this match to exit, but Araquanid's another very interesting pick for this meta, and it is a Pokemon that I'm considering trying at some point during the week. Definitely a 4-1 set there, which is nice. It definitely is really nice having just a great variety of Pokemon to use in this. And hopping into the next one, we've got a pretty awkward lead here. Our best answer for this is probably the Toxapex. I throw in good timing here, throw after free, so it's kind of perfect. I get to the move as the timing is good. The opponent is throwing off a Rock Tomb here, which debuffs my attack. We throw after 1 here to try to, you know, put a little bit of pressure on this. I kind of want to just get this thing out, but we're kind of debuffed here at this point, and yeah, this is looking rough. I did decide to shield it because I just feel like this thing can do a lot of damage to my backline. Now, of course, the Incinerates are resisted, but we do take it out, and I'm happy just to go down on shields here just to win Switch. I feel like winning Switch is so important, and you're going to see here, we're going to get off a decent amount of damage here in the Trevenant. Yeah, so the opponent lets that go, being a debuff move, and I actually swap out here, thinking that I might, you know, be able to, there might be something that doesn't do as much fast move pressure in the back, and it gives me a chance to do a catch. The opponent comes in with a Zapdos, which is a really fun pick for this cup, and at this point I've realized, like, this thing is just going to absolutely one-shot the rest of my team. I don't actually have a Shadow Zapdos because at the time this was in Team Rocket, I was not playing the game, unfortunately, at that point. So the Shadow Zapdos is just going to put in an insane amount of work in this cup, and if you guys have one, definitely build it. It gets off Drill Packs against Trevenants, and of course it destroys the Toxapex. I wasn't able to get off my move, even though those Thundershocks are resisted, and GG's to the opponent there. You're going to see a couple of times Zapdos is probably like your biggest problem for this team. If you don't get it aligned onto Ampharos with some health on the Ampharos, it is a real problem. But we've got a Toxapex lead here, and the opponent to swap out into Trevenant. I decide to go for a Brutal Swing and Dip, and I might just even come into my own Trevenant. The opponent lets that go, and I actually should have swapped out more quickly there. I think I over-tapped, so I do end up having to shield this. I'm going to come in and farm down with the Trevenant, and let's see what the opponent wants to do here. They come back in with their Toxapex, and Trevenant is okay here. You get off these Shadow Balls, which do a lot of damage. Now, I might decide to shield this, thinking that it might be weak in the back, But no, I did decide to let this go. The opponent throws off the Sludge Wave, which will take us out. And I think I make a very interesting play here. I decide I'm going to come in with the Toxapex and just farm up an absolute ton of energy. All our Toxapex cannot do a lot of damage against us here. And obviously the more obvious move would be to basically just come in with the Ampharos. I do decide to eventually come in, and I try to throw the Thunder Punch on the Toxapex. Nice catch by the opponent and nice reactions. It is an Abomasnow, so either way this wouldn't have made a difference. If I had just came in with the Ampharos, my sort of thinking was I don't want to eat moves on Ampharos, so that's kind of where I was thinking with that. I'd rather come in, just get a ton of energy, and we go for the Brine Bait right here. We'll see if the opponent wants to shield. The opponent does shield, and at this point we can reach the Sludge Wave, which is going to be fantastic. And we do even have a shield advantage coming into the Toxapex matchup, and the opponent is very low, so there's not a whole lot they can do right here. And I think that probably, I don't think either play was wrong there. I think, hindsight's 2020, but we're gonna go for the usual Brutal Swing and Dip right here. The opponent is farming up to the Shadow Ball right here, so I'm gonna go for this Brutal Swing. The opponent does shield it, and I try to wait for a turn and catch on the I was almost gonna say Marini Toxapex. The opponent swaps into their Jellicent, which is a very positive matchup for Jellicent, which you're going to see with the bulk of Toxapex. And as you've seen in a couple of matchups before, this is not that straightforward. The opponent does need to throw, and they're not going to be able to get out with a ton of energy here. So I'm happy enough at this point. The opponent's going to have to throw 2 moves, and we'll get off the Sludge Bomb, which will leave it in farm down range for Trevenant. The opponent, like I said, cannot get out of this match with a lot of energy, because with this being so bulky, they just can't farm us down. They throw off a Surf, and we'll actually come in and just farm down with the Ampharos. I commit a shield here because I don't want to eat a Shadow Ball on the Ampharos, and the opponent comes in with the Trevenant. I decide to let this go, and it is the Seed Bomb. I was counting my moves and I realised that that was a Seed Bomb. So we go for a Seed Bomb of our own, knowing that I'll probably win CMP on this thing. And it does take out the opponent. So we'll see what the opponent wants to come in with here. They come in with a Tentacruel, which again, I think this is a really interesting pick. I think a backline of Toxapex and Tentacruel with a Trevenant lead could be a very good pick, because the ground types would be very difficult for Tentacruel and Toxapex, which of course Trevenant handles perfectly, and some of Trevenant's weaknesses are handled, so we go for the Thunder Punch here anyway. We're one off another one. That does take out the Toxapex. The opponent comes back in with Jellicent, and we farm it down with the Ampharos. GG's to the opponent right there. And yeah, we're just having some really, really positive sets with this so far. Got on first thing this morning, and I'm super happy with this. Now, Cordeli was a Pokemon that I didn't really know what to do with here. It has kind of neutral play across the board, so I decided to stay in here with Ampharos. That is the amazing thing with it. You can stay in against almost everything. I do try to catch a Grass Knot on this Trevenant. We've got it down a little bit low, and we'll draw out an Abomasnow. Abomasnow wins this match, but it is going to have to come in a shield, because these Shadow Balls do an absolute ton of damage. The opponent does shield up, and can we even get off another Seed Bomb? No. The opponent, nice energy management by the opponent. They throw off just before we reach the move, and the Willow Ball will take out. I'm happy enough to get this alignment right here, because Ampharos does not want to see Abomasnow. The opponent can throw off whatever here. The Energy Ball will do a decent amount of damage, so I decide I want to preserve my Toxapex here. We're going to throw off a Brine, see what the opponent wants to do if they want to commit a shield. They let that go, and we both swap out here into the same matchup as before. So the opponent's going to throw off a Grass Knot, which, as you've seen, that's why I shielded it earlier. It does an absolute ton of damage. Again, I'm not throwing an optimal timing, but I do want to get off moves here, and potentially get off another one. Yes, we do get off another one. So this would, of course, knock out the Cordeli. The opponent lets it go, and they probably shouldn't have let that go, because we're in just such a rough spot right here, and we can just farm it down. The opponent comes in with a Jumpluff, and this is going to be a very, very tough match here. I'm going to farm up an absolute ton of energy. The opponent goes for an Energy Ball first, which I thought was a little bit weird. I should be going for the Acrobatics, and I actually overfarm here. The opponent's going to get off another move, and I decide the opponent knows I farmed up an absolute ton. I'm going to go for the Sludge straight off the rip here, and yes, the opponent actually lets it go. The obvious thing is to go for the bait right there, especially because I've got so much energy, and thankfully the opponent lets that go. So you look like a genius when it works, and you look like an idiot when it doesn't. Golem right here is an interesting one. I don't really want this on my back line, so again, we can just stay in with Ampharos. Ampharos just has so much neutral play, and those Brutal Swings do so much damage. The opponent's going to throw off a move here, and I think I see MP tie it, so I'm happy enough to commit a shield here. We'll see what the opponent wants to do. Yeah, Golem is a bit of an interesting one. I don't really want it on either of my backline, but the opponent is going to farm down here, and I might even just have to commit a shield. The opponent does no wild charge, which would do a lot of damage to both my backline, but we actually end up getting the farm down, and in comes their own Trevenant. We're head on energy, and you don't really need to go for these Shadow Balls against Trevenants. These Seed Bombs do a lot of damage, and we're actually going to swap out into our Toxapex. Now we can need a move on this, no problem. And that's why you want to sort of dance around Trevenant a little bit. Try to eat your moves on Toxapex if possible. Now, you might see me throwing Brines here, because I wasn't sure what the best play was, but you definitely want to be throwing your Sludge Bombs. Brine is just a very terrible move, and the Sludge Bombs will do a lot more damage. The opponent goes for a Power Whip. Can we get off on our move? We do. So this is going to get this very, very low. And at this point, if they throw a move, we can just come in and farm down with Trevenant, which we decide to aggro swap into. And at this point, there's not a whole lot the opponent can do. I think the opponent actually closes their phone app at this point, and we'll go for the Seed Bomb, which won't, just about take it out, but either way, if the opponent continues to play here, we're going to be able to shield up whatever they throw and farm it down, so good games to the opponent right there. So hopping into the next one, we've got Ampharos into Toxapex. The opponent swaps into Abomasnow. We will swap into our Toxapex, and this is going to be a very positive matchup. These energy balls, as you've seen, do a decent amount of damage to this thing, but we're actually going to go for a bait, see if the opponent wants to try and get off a couple of energy balls. The opponent lets it go, and even if you do sort of unsuccessfully bait, you can get a farm down, which is nice, and it leaves your Toxapex in a sort of lower health range, and we actually get the defense fall, which is absolutely perfect, which means the opponent's not going to be able to get a ton of energy, and we're going to get off a Sludge Bomb against the opposing Toxapex. So this is literally best case scenario, and we get the defense fall and not allowing the opponent to get a ton of farm, and we'll come back in with our Ampharos right here. We're going to throw, I think that was a CMP right here. The opponent might have to consider shielding this up. The opponent does let it go because, as you guys have seen, Toxapex can just eat, and I'm happy enough to go for a farm down right here. The opponent will throw a Brine, which of course is not that great, and Shiftry is just such a problem for this team. This thing is just, it's going to absolutely one-shot this Trevenant. I decided to let that go because I wanted to basically try and put it on Ampharos. This thing is just such a problem if you get it in the wrong sort of scenario. Again, Brutal Swing and Thunder Punch do the exact same damage, does not matter what I throw here. And yeah, the opponent's going to get off a move. Shiftry is probably like one of the biggest core breakers. I think the two Pokemon you have to watch out for are Shiftry and Zapdos. These two Pokemon just completely destroy this team, and you do have to sort of, at the very least, try to get your Toxapex onto the Shiftry. So that is something to take into consideration. And this matchup right here, we get a pretty, like I said, even matchup. This is favorable for Abomasnow. We'll go for this this Brutal Swing off the rip here, and it does a lot of damage. I decided to stay in here for a minute and go for a shield. Again, I could aggro swap into my Toxapex, but if we can deal with this with Ampharos, even if we go down a shield, I'll be happy enough. The opponent does shield the last one up here, and they are going to throw a move. I decide, okay, I'm going to keep a shield, and maybe get a move off. We'll see if we can get off another Brutal Swing here. It's going to be close. No, we just about don't. Actually, by the way, I'm super unlucky with this Ampharos. I have really good looking IVs, but it just was not that great. The opponent's going to come in with the Zapdos, and you guys know how this goes. This thing just one-shots my entire team. We really need the Ampharos to get aligned to the Zapdos, so that is a consideration. If you're playing at like a higher elo, and the opponents are likely to have Zapdoses, it's such a problem, and we're going to get absolutely one-shot by this thing. So that's your two biggest enemies, guys. It's got to be Zapdos, and it's going to be Shiftry. You need to get some good alignment with those, but overall this team does insanely well, and I had a ton of fun playing with this team. We went extremely positive. The opponent does get the farm down, and very good games there. We end up going 2-5 in the last set, and as you can see, my finishing elo is 2077. I thought my elo, to be honest, would be around 2200, but I'm not too surprised by this because I've been losing a lot of matches with spicy teams, so I'm happy enough with this. We're going to make a climb for Legend this season, and hopefully we can do so. I am just trying to improve my gameplay and try to get a little bit better, and you guys will see by these videos, I do make some mistakes. I'm not perfect at this game, but I think by doing these videos and commenting on these things and watching my gameplay, already it's helped me improve a lot. Hopefully I can improve enough to hit Legend this season, and I'm definitely going to try my best.